Hey, I want to take some time today to do a little rant video here because I'm pissed. Those of you that follow me on Instagram or are a patron of mine over on Patreon, you probably saw this image of an email I received on my phone yesterday. And if you've seen it, you probably know why I'm pissed. Now, before I get into it, I want to give you a little backstory here about what led up to me getting this email. Most of you are aware I run the TYMP Pistol Project. Most of you know what that is already. It's a charity that provides firearms to people in need who can't afford them. And if you'd like to be a supporter of that project, just click the link in the upper corner here. You can either go over and become a patron or maybe even get one of the last stickers that are remaining. And now that shameless plug is over with here, let's talk about how this happened. Well, every month I choose someone that helps me support the program as a friend of mine and say, you know, you're a friend of mine, you help support the program, I'm going to give you a free gun. And I usually give them like 4 or 5 guns to choose from that I can buy for them and send to them. Well, the person who won this time, he didn't want any of the guns that I was offering. He was willing to take one. He wasn't being pushy, but he's like, you know, you've made me start carrying revolvers. He started carrying revolvers because of my videos. So I thought, wow, that I can't make him take one of these plastic nightmares. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll get him a revolver. He had mentioned he's been wanting one of the 7-shot GP100s really badly. So I thought, you know, he lives in a state where I know there's a big online gun business there. There's an online seller that's in his state. And it turns out they're just like less than an hour from him. So he can just go over to them and pick up a gun if I buy it from them. Now, this is an online store that I have had a problem with in the past. But I thought, you know, the past is the past. Let's give them another chance. I'm a firm believer in giving people second chances. I mean, if I have one flaw, it's that I'm just too nice of a guy. I think most people know that. So I thought, well, I'll try them. So I buy the gun online, the GP100, and I tell him, hey, I've bought the gun from them. Contact them, make arrangements to get it. Well, he goes about doing that. And then I received that email. I received that email on my phone, and as I'm reading it, I just explode. The very first paragraph in the email is, "Hi David, we received the order for your gun giveaway, blank, blank." I'm not going to give the person's name here because I want to protect the guilty and the innocent. "Unfortunately, since you're the purchaser, it is illegal to transfer the firearm to him. We will have to cancel the sale, charge you a 50% restocking fee, and alert the ATF." At this point, I lose it. I start to go Hulk on it. You know, I'm just like, "Ooh, Yankee smash!" because I was so mad. So, you know, I go to give him a call. I try to call the number that I had for him. It didn't go through. So I thought, well, maybe there's a number on the email. So I pop open the email. And the first thing I notice on the bottom is the person has given me his email. Justin has given me his email and his phone number. So I'm going to call the bastard. So I call him up. And of course, he answers the phone. He'd given me his personal cell phone. Mistake there. He answers the phone, says, "Hey, this is Justin. How can I help you?" You know, all polite and all that fucking bullshit. And I'm like, "Hey, Justin, this is," and I give him my name. And I'm like, "I just got an email from you and I want to have a word with you about it." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "What's all this bullshit about?" You know, I just go off. I'm just like, "Are you in the gun selling business?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Do you know the fucking law?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I know the law." And I mean, I just go on and I berate this guy for like 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, I'm just angry. You know, I mean, like, this is unjustified. This is, you know, there was no call for this. They're totally wrong. I was totally right. And I was, like I always am. And I was just livid. And then he makes it worse. He says to me, "Did you read the email?" And I'm like, what? Like I'm the kind of guy that just explodes when they read something or just, you know, goes off at the slightest provocation. I'm like some guy, some hothead that doesn't get all the facts before I explode on somebody, before I tear someone a new asshole. That was insulting to me. Of course I didn't read the email. So I go on to read the email a little bit here. And you know, at first I had even missed the 50% restocking fee and alerting the ATF. I'd gotten so mad at the first sentence, I was not even paying attention. So then I go on and I read a little bit further. And the very next paragraph says, "Only joking. I saw your video on us a couple of years ago and had to give you a little bit of a hard time. The gun is ready for Mr. Ream to pick up today. We talked to him earlier and he mentioned he had won it from you." Now I know what a lot of you are going to say now. They're going to say, wow, if you hadn't been such a hothead and you could have been bothered to read another paragraph down, just like another sentence, you wouldn't have acted like such a jackass and tore into some guy that didn't deserve it. Some guy that took your order, sold you a product at a really good price, got it ready really quickly, and even though this was a little bit more complicated sell than a normal sell, was okay with it, had it ready for your guy to pick it up. And this guy did everything right, and then you attack him. So this exonerates him and makes me look like a jerk, is what you're going to say. Well, I disagree completely, because now he's not some jerk that just was trying to pull a gag at my expense. Now he's an attempted murderer, because I'm not a young guy, and I'm not the most fit guy in the world either anymore. I'm getting old, and I'm, a little bit out of shape. Those people that can see me pretty much know that I'm like one case of Twinkies and a sudden scare away from a fatal heart attack. And this had me seeing red. This could have killed me. So I was like, now he's an attempted murderer, because that's the only option for me to still be right. So then I go on and I actually start to read a little bit more of the email, and it gets worse. The very next paragraph reads, I did want to apologize for the bad experience you had with Grab a Gun before. Your worst online gun store video was well deserved. We had just gone through an ATF audit, and I had beat it into our CSRs and managers to be on ultra high alert for anything. Unfortunately, this caused them to stop using their actual brains. We've made a lot of progress in that area over the last few years. I'm sorry you had to go through the learning curve with us. You were actually one of our first customers back in 2011. We're still not perfect, but I think overall you'd be a lot more impressed with us these days. We've had a lot more practice. So what's that garbage now? Taking accountability for your actions? Who does that? No one does that. Saying that I'm sorry, that's like saying I was not as right as I usually am. Who does that? Companies don't do that. If I accept that they do that, that means I've had to learn something new. I've had to learn that, some companies actually stand up, take accountability when they do something wrong, and they learn from their mistakes. And that means I learned something new. And at my age, I don't want to learn something new. Every time I learn something new, like I've said 100 times in my videos and in my chats, every time I learn something new at my age, I forget something old. And if I learn this might be the time that I forget things like to wear pants or to not masturbate in public. So learning new shit is dangerous for me. So that right there is bad in itself. And then they go on to end the email with, going forward, if there's ever anything you need, hard to find gun, customer service, discount, whatever, please let me know how I can be of assistance. I'd like to work toward you thinking of us as the best online gun store. Thanks, Justin. I'm not going to give his last name here, like I said, to protect the guilty and the innocent. President of grabagun.com. And I'm blurring out his phone number there. So there you can see, topping it off again, being polite at the end. After, they just tried to play a joke on me. Get a laugh at my expense, like trying to show they have a sense of humor, like they're real people or something. At my expense, like I said. Do they not know who I think I am? I was like, oh no, they didn't. But yeah, they did. So there you have the whole story. That's what happened. They sold me a good product at a great price. They got it ready quickly. They contacted the person that I bought it for. They even contacted me to let everything went well. And then they even took responsibility for things they'd done wrong in the past when they were first starting out, and apologized and said they're doing better. And like I said, who does that kind of shit? So now that you know the whole story, now you know why I was so mad. And I think you can see now I had every justification to be so. Because if I wasn't justified in being mad, that would mean I wasn't as right as I usually am. And I think we all know that can't possibly be true.